In this video, we'll see how we can use the content status property for an item object to set that content item in ArcGIS Online as either deprecated or authoritative. So let's check it out. Open up the content status.py script from the feature server settings folder. The item object with the ArcGIS API for Python has a content status property that allows us to tag that content item in ArcGIS Online as deprecated or authoritative. Now we also do not have to tag it with either. The content status could simply be none, which is the default when you create an item in ArcGIS Online. Let's head over to the documentation for the content status. Here's the content status property for the item object. The content status property states if an item is authoritative or deprecated. Now we're not limited to those two, as there is also the option of being neither of those. And this gives the owners or administrators of the item the ability to warn users whether they should be using this information or not. The content status can be set to 5 different statuses. Authoritative and org authoritative are the exact same. Public authoritative can only be used if Esri have verified your organization as public facing. We also have deprecated, that would mark that this information should not be used. And we can also set it to none, whether it is neither authoritative or deprecated. If you want to see more about getting your organization verified for using public authoritative, there is a link here. From here, I'm going to head to ArcGIS Online. Here we have our Park Trails feature service. And if we go into the settings tab, we can see here in the general section, we have a content status. And if I click on the information icon, when an item is designated authoritative or deprecated, a badge is shown near the top of the item's overview tab. We can see here we can mark the item as authoritative or deprecated. Authoritative, it is recommended to use the item, and deprecated, you are discouraged to use the item. Let's head back to our Python script and utilize the content status property for our item object. We first access ArcGIS Online using our GIS class and supplying in the home string. We'll assign our GIS object to a variable called AGOL. We're then going to use our GIS object content manager and the get method supplying in our feature service item ID, which I'll paste in now for my notepad. The get method returns an item object that will assign to a variable called item. First, we'll simply print the item object content status to screen. Now we have not set authoritative or deprecated, so we do not expect this to return anything. But let's run the script. It looks like nothing was printed to screen, but it is actually this line here where none was printed. None is an empty string, so that's what was printed to screen. I'll comment out printing the item content status, and we're going to set the content status to deprecated. So here we're using our item object and the content status property, and we're setting it to deprecated. I'm going to run the script. Our script is complete. I'll head to ArcGIS Online. Before I refresh this page, we can see that it has not been set as deprecated, but when we refresh, the result of our script should mean that it is now deprecated. And we can see that this item is deprecated. If I go to the overview tab, we can see that the deprecated symbol is also there. If I go back out to my content, we can see I also have this symbol here that this feature service is deprecated. I'll head back to the Python script. I'll comment out example 2. Example 3 just sets the content status back to none. And I'm going to also print the current item content status. So we're going to see the current content status, and then we're going to set the content status to none. I'll run the script. We can see our status was deprecated, but let's head back over to ArcGIS Online. I'm going to click into the Park Trails. We can see that the deprecated symbol has been removed. And if I go into settings, the mark as deprecated is now untoggled. Before moving on to setting as authoritative, I just want you to note that delete protection has not been set. We'll head back to the Python script. I'll comment out where we're printing the content status and setting it to none. And we're going to set our content status for our item object to org authoritative. Now we could also use authoritative instead of org authoritative. This is the legacy tag when setting the content status, that has now been replaced with using org authoritative. If we did use authoritative, it would just be set to org authoritative anyway. We'll run the script. Our script is complete. I'll head over to ArcGIS Online. I'm going to refresh our settings page. And we can see that this item has been marked as authoritative. And also note that for deletion management, that delete protection has automatically been applied. We'll go back to our Python script once more. I'll comment out where we're setting our content status to org authoritative. Now my organisation is not verified with Esri to be public facing, so I just want to show if I attempt to set as public authoritative that it will fail. I'll run the script and we see we are getting this exception, unable to update item status to public authoritative, that the org has to be public and verified. Make sure to continue on to the next video in this series and also make sure to subscribe. Take care.